As far as growing the team, I think, just being really careful and putting guardrails around having quality over quantity. I need to grow my team. More people. But what happens is you dilute the culture, and the culture is everything. And if you don't have the right people on the team, one bad egg will spoil the bunch.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up Podcast. We are thrilled to have with us today Jen Dillard. She runs the JDRE team over at Real Brokerage. They're based in Hood River, Oregon. On track this year for about 78 million, or that's at least what you guys did last year.
Last year.
What's this year?
We actually did 84 million last year, and we're on track to do 100 million this year.
Oh, wow. All right. So on track to do 100 million in volume this year. Runs a team of 14 agents, 3 admin, doing some big numbers. And I just was confirming where your team is located, and she referred to it as the Hood. Hood River, the Hood. So I like that.
Sounds cooler.
Yeah, much better. Awesome. And I think there's a bunch of things for us to dive into today. I know when I was preparing for our episode today, I found a lot of really cool things that you're doing to create an awesome environment for your team, a great, internal culture. So we're excited to dig a little bit deeper on that.
I'm super excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Let's do it. All right. So infamous lightning round, where we'll hit you with some questions that are really unrelated to real estate. But it just helps us get to know you a little bit better and break the ice.
I'm ready.
All right. If you could have any superpower, KIRO picked this one. So if you think it's ridiculous, it's his fault.
I love that one.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose? You really like this one?
I would choose the ability to be invisible. There are so many times when, being in real estate, you just have to be, and especially when you're on social media and all the things, like you just have to be on all the time. And so I would love to go to the grocery store and not have to see anybody. So sometimes I would love to be invisible.
I like that. We were talking the other day within our team, or I can't remember, it was just other people in the real estate business. And I used to live in a condo building, and I wouldn't say I was like the known agent in that building by any means, but sometimes you'd have listings in the building and you just want to roll out of bed sometimes on Saturday morning, a little hungover sometimes, maybe just get brunch, not have to be fully cleaned up.
No.
But I was always worried that I was going to run into clients like in the elevator, and it just,
So one time not too long ago, I was at the grocery store, and, within the last couple of years, I've really increased my video on social. And so I've been posting a lot of videos and running ads on them and all this. So I'm at the grocery store, and this older, wonderful woman walks up to me, and super loud, she says, "You're that woman that I see on the internet all the time." And I was like, I'm in real estate, not adult film. Like, I had to make it very clear. Everyone was staring at me. It was awesome.
Please clarify which website.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I love that. What's your most powerful and vivid memory?
The birth of my children, for sure.
If you had to expand on something other than that.
Well, you don't like that answer?
I do, but
You don't like that?
Go deeper. Give me a deeper response.
Oh, man. My most powerful and vivid memory.
It's actually very general now that you repeated that.
Yeah, it is super general. And I feel like I think that, my kids, that's my why, and why I get up every day and do what I do there. So I think definitely all my memories that I can think of now involve them. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your dream job if money didn't matter?
I'm doing it, honestly.
As I picked that card out, I was like, I feel like that's what you might say. That's what a lot of people, I think.
I really am. I absolutely love what I do in real estate, but also just being able to mentor other people and watch them, to help them and guide them to have the success that they have. And just being a part of that journey is, and I couldn't ask for anything more. So I love it.
Yeah, no, that's solid. If you could meet anyone, any historical figure, who would you choose and why?
Such a good one.
Before you answer, when she answers, are you going to accept it or are you going to tell her?
Yeah,
You
but
want
I was going to ask you on the last
Scouts
one.
honor. Scouts honor.
Gosh, a historical figure.
I secretly was giving you more time there to think there, Jen.
I really appreciate that. That. That's a really tough one. I feel like there's so many people that I would love to meet, whether they're, so is this somebody that's not alive anymore or?
It could be alive or dead.
I think that honestly, for myself, I would like to meet somebody that's in my family that goes way back, like a great, great, great grandmother, grandfather, and really understand my family history. I don't really know that much about my family history. So I think that would be really interesting to me.
Isn't it kind of crazy?
That was deep.
That was solid, but isn't it kind of
Is
crazy?
that okay with you?
No, guys, I'm gonna, hey, both of y'all. Isn't it kind of crazy to think that our great grandchildren are gonna have documents like and records of us that they'll be able to see and watch, but we never had that chance?
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So you better do a really good fucking job of building a good legacy online, so that way people can see it and go through that. That's kind of crazy.
It is so. It's so true. Yeah.
You know, a close friend of mine just passed away, and in a month or two, we're going to celebrate his birthday. And his wife was like, "I want all of you guys to," because just trying to commemorate him, we've been trying to all tell stories, like our funniest stories about him. And what his wife wants us to do is film those stories, film us telling those stories, and make it into a video, so that when the kids grow up, they
always have that.
That's really cool. That's a great idea. Yeah.
So
I love that.
I'm excited about that.
So interestingly enough, when we were going over really just what you've accomplished and things that we appreciated about you, one thing stood out, and there's two ways of growing in this industry, right? You can grow through personal production, or you can grow through recruiting. And you can grow through building an organization and a company, which you've done really, really good at doing. And it's very difficult to go from an independent agent to a team leader, to building out a company, to removing expectations, to actually having a solid culture that attracts people that are like-minded and are able to flourish and be vulnerable in that organization. How'd you do it? Tell us the secrets.
How'd you build the team in the hood?
The team in the hood. So, you know, honestly, I know everybody says like it's organic but authentic and all of those things. Those words get thrown around so much, but truly, so I moved to the area 6 years ago. I haven't been in the hood that long. And so I moved to Hood River 6 years ago. I moved from the Seattle area where I had, you know, I was a moderately successful realtor. I had a huge sphere of influence. I grew up in the Seattle area. I had my friends, my family, I had so many people that I knew there. And then I moved to Hood River where I knew nobody. And we just decided to pack up and move one day and give our kids more room to roam and all of those things. So we moved here, and I thought, oh, this will be easy. I know how to sell real estate. But what I didn't realize was how difficult it was going to be to break into an area. This is a small town. There's only about 7,000 to 10,000 people. And so it fluctuates due to the fact that it's a resort town. But you know, I didn't know anybody. So I thought it was going to be easy, but it was definitely a reality check once I got here and didn't know anybody. So what I did was I moved to the area, struggled, felt really lost, and had to do some major soul searching and realize what it was that made me happy when I was in Seattle and helped me to grow my business there, which was people, relationships, getting people to know you, like you, trust you, all of those things. And so I woke up one morning and mascara all over my face from crying my eyes out. And I was like, we're going to throw a party. And my husband's like, what are you talking about? We have no friends. How are we going to throw a party? And so we did. I mean, I called a caterer, a bartender, a florist, all the things. And we threw a Christmas party. Well, I didn't have any friends, like I said, so I literally walked down the street and I invited everybody I could possibly that looked semi-fun. Like, hey, you look kind of fun. Do you want to come to my Christmas party? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Like people literally thought I was a crazy person. I invited people with kids, my kids' ages, owners of businesses, and it turned out to be a great party. But it was also where I met my first friends, my first clients, and like I really started to build relationships. And so from there, I started to get clients. I started to have more community events, which is something that we run 20 to 30 community events a year now, because it's been something that's really helped to grow the brand and our reputation as community leaders. And so from there, I started with one. I met a guy at a coffee shop, and I loved his charisma. I loved the way that he interacted with the clients there. And so I had a conversation with him and found out that he was born and raised in the hood, and he had had done sales in the past. And so I told him that I thought he would make a great realtor, and that if he ever thought of getting into real estate, he should call me. He did. And he was my first agent, and he's still with me today. He's been here for 4 years. And, just kind of organically that way, continuing to have conversations and meet people that I saw potential in, and invite them in to be a part of the team. And then, the phone started ringing, and it was like, I would love to join the team. We got some seasoned agents, and it's just grown through attraction marketing more than anything.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Are you still in production yourself?
I am in production myself. I took a little bit of a break because I thought that was what you were supposed to do. I thought that, I hear so many people talk about getting out of production and kind of I thought of that as like, that was the next step. And so I started to back myself out of production, and then realized, like, why am I backing myself out of production? I love listing homes. I love being involved with the clients. So I'm back in.
Yeah.
Just back.
I'm back.
I had the fortune of being able to go to Nashville last weekend to shadow a team called the Bernie Gallerani team. He's one of the biggest teams there. And we knew him through our MFO coaching background, and it was all about skills, prospecting, this, that, and the other. And I was blown away when we sat there and he was talking about culture and being able to build a group of people that are like empowered by each other and like infectious with energy, so that when new blood comes in, they can infect them with energy and their limiting beliefs were non-existent. Like the average agent on there, well, I met 2 agents in there that were doing 100 deals each, which was insane to even think about. So their limiting beliefs were non-existent. And when I was asking him, I was like, when you first start building out a team, like based on what I'm seeing, that first hire you get is one of the most important people. He was like, what's more important than that is the vision and integrity that you have within yourself, because they'll ride that boat if you could sell the vision. And if they see the integrity is there, that you follow what you're saying, then they'll commit with you, and they'll do whatever it takes to get with you.
100%. You have to lead by example. You have to, if you're out and you're doing the things, like, why is somebody going to listen to you if you're not practicing what you preach? If you're not getting on the phone, you're not calling people, you're not prospecting, you're not attending the community events. I could easily put my name on it and then not attend, but how is that leading by example? It's not. So I'm out there 100% in the trenches with them.
Yeah. And having a population as small as yours, that's like almost crazy, because some of the bigger teams that we know, they'll be like, oh, we're in 100,000 people population and we're struggling to find good people. I just can't imagine that you'd actually be able to find good people unless you're like flying them in from like neighboring cities, but you're finding it within your town.
Yeah, it's not, some of them are already experienced seasoned real estate agents that have reached out, or I've reached out to them and they've joined the team. But a lot of our agents have been people that I've met that are baristas at coffee shops or, in other industries. And I just saw, I have a knack for seeing potential in people and seeing that they have what it takes to be a great agent. And a lot of those things are being nurturing and having empathy and being able to articulate and to have, conversation. And those are skills that you really can't teach. And so if they have those skills and they're also willing to learn, I feel like those are the people that I can train and that I can help to become great realtors.
Would you say you've had better experience converting like well-rounded people that have sales experience and sort of teaching them real estate than you have bringing over existing real estate agents?
Yes,
yeah.
I have had more success because they're more willing to learn, and it's a blank slate.
Exactly.
When sometimes with agents that have had previous experience, they are, they have bad habits, or they're like, oh, I know how to do all that. I've done it. They're not willing to listen. And I love to work with people that are just green and I can help them and they're willing to listen to me. So
Yeah. The few core people that are on our team have always said to me, like, I don't even know what it's like to be on another team. They're like, if I were to go to another office, like, wait a second, they're not in every day, and like our team is in every day at 7:30, and they keep a schedule, and they're doing the same activities, same consistent activities every single day. I think if they were to step into like your average real estate office, they'd be like, where is everybody?
No.
yeah, you're like, you hate it. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's insane because the one thing I learned like crazy from last week is that when you're growing that kind of culture and that kind of group of people, they become your clients in essence, right? Where we were walking through, and every person that would walk by his office, he would be like, "You see her? She wasn't able to change her roof for like 2 years, and she was struggling. Guess what? 4 months ago, she just bought a brand new house, and it's like this big, this, that, and the other." And then he'll walk by and you'll see like this other girl. He'll be like, "She made 600,000 last year, and she did this, that, and the other, and she's 28 years old, KIRO, and she's single." And I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, but that's like he was lighting up in that process, which was awesome to see.
That's the magic, is being able to be a part of that journey.
Yeah,
It's the best feeling in the world. When Boney on my team, my first agent, when he bought his first house, I mean, it was such a big celebration and joy because I've been there. He was living with his parents when he started working on the team. And he, it's just like, it's amazing. Love it.
It definitely, seeing growth in others is a big thing. We had a transaction manager a couple of years ago, and we were like, you know what, we're going to read Rich Dad Poor Dad as a group thing to do. She read the book, and after that, she was like, "I'm going to buy a house." And we're like, "You go buy a house, girl, you go buy it." And then within a couple of weeks, she had a property under contract. John just pushed a girl on his team right now to buy are we allowed to even talk about that?
Yeah.
He pushed her to buy a place, and she's 19 years old now.
19.
Yeah.
She's super competitive, and
She's
her client was under contract to buy this house, and the deal fell apart because the buyer, her client, saw something that they didn't like.
Yeah.
So because she's so competitive, she's like, "I want to show them that this is a good investment." And I was like, "Well, then you should buy it." And she's like, "Should we?" So we partnered and we bought it, and we closed a couple weeks ago. And now the property's under renovations, and I think she's scared shitless, but
no, but she's
good.
very trusting in the process, right? She's one of those individuals that you say, follow the script, and then she'll say things that we won't even ever say. She'll be like, "So are you planning on interviewing more? If I come there, you're signing a contract, right?" And we're like, "Oh my God."
major driver.
She's incredible.
But here's what's exciting about it. She's 19 years old, and she's purchased her first home, and it's a flip, but she's just super excited. She's like, "I brought my parents there. I showed them what we bought." She's like, "I wasn't allowed to, my mom told me I couldn't tell my dad, but now we told him, and now he's excited." And it's just seeing her evolve, and we're, getting her a credit card and like building her credit. And of course, buying and selling a house is going to build her credit. So she's super excited. And I was like, "See, now you need to, like, we're trying to help her connect the dots." I'm like, "Okay, well, now I need you to do a few more listings or a few more buy-side deals this year, so you have some more money, so you can spend all of your time doing these flips, right? And then you don't have to."
Now she's 19. Now she has a why. At 19, you don't have a why, but now she does. She's like, I need to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, no, it's the right people in the right seats is the biggest obstacle, and it's something that's it's definitely not easy to do. So being able to have done it, seeing how you did it, really is very impressive. Is there any tips, tricks that you can share?
As far as growing the team, I think just being really careful and putting guardrails around having quality over quantity. I think that there's so much pressure from just other agents and watching other people that I need to grow my team. More people. But what happens is you dilute what the culture, and the culture is everything. And if you don't have the right people on the team, one bad egg will spoil the bunch. So it's important to have not just agents I have agents that are very high producers, and I have some that don't produce as much, but we have a standard. They have to produce a certain amount, but they have they're team players. They show up every day. They work hard. They have a good attitude. And if they have all of those things, that's still part of the culture, and I continue to keep them on the team. So if you're missing meetings and you're not ethical and you have a bad attitude, like those are things we're going to have a conversation about, and you probably are not going to stay on the team. So I think just making sure that it's very cut and dry on what your expectations are and what the culture is, and that you go over it often and stay true to that.
Yeah. Do you find it hard wearing two hats between being a producer and a team leader?
I don't find it hard. I think that the only thing that's complicated is just the time blocking, but I've really been able to become an expert at it. And so no, I mean, I have to time block my time with my children, my time for myself, my time with my husband, my time for my team, my time for my clients. And if I don't do that, then I definitely feel very overwhelmed.
Yeah. I don't know why this came to my mind, but there's a show called Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's like a perfect example of building a culture within an organization. Like the perfect, because it's not about the outcomes that he was looking for. It was about the focus of the development of each individual person within the organization. And that would make it, everybody would grow as it is. It's so simple in theory when you think about it, just getting the right people there, but finding the right people, going through, having the leadership qualities to guide them, hold them accountable, understand how to communicate the ideas effectively, what you learned, removing expectations of what you would do and not thinking that they're going to do the same exact thing, and accepting what they want and supporting what they want wholeheartedly is the challenge.
And understanding that everybody learns differently. There are people that, learn from doing, and there are people that learn from hearing and from, in-person trainings, and some just need to go out and they need to shadow you and they need to get that hands-on experience. So just really understanding that different people learn different ways is important.
Yeah.
What are some of the struggles that you've experienced growing your team? Let's say this. What are some of the struggles you've experienced moving from a individual producer to a team leader?
The personalities, I think, has been something I've really had to learn and do a lot of research on, and disc profiles, and just really to understand how people operate and how people are different, and just getting to know each agent and finding out what their goals are. What are their personal goals? What are their professional goals? How can I help them? What do they need from me? Do they need a one-on-one every week, or is that distracting for them? Do they need more of a hands-off approach where they can call me and check in, and, or just really understanding the people that I have and supporting them in whatever way they need. That's been something that, because I learn differently, and I'm very self-disciplined, and I am such a driver, and I just go, but not everybody thinks like I do. And so some people need more of a push, and they need a checklist, and they need things to be laid out very clearly for them. Otherwise they don't know what to do. So,
what came to my mind is when we would interview agents, they would interview so well that we'd be like, we could see them being a savage. They're going to be great. Let's bring them on.
It's always tough interviewing salespeople because they interview
Selling
the best.
Shit. Yeah.
good. Yeah.
And then they would come in, and then I don't think anybody who stayed on, if they stayed on for good. If they didn't, they quit within a couple of days to a week, or we were like losing our shit, because it was like one of our core standards or core values is coachable. Right. And if you're not coachable and you're like, well, that's the way I used to do it this way, and you're like, get the out of here. Like, I remember this one instance, we were doing a team meeting, and then we were talking about certain like ways of how they take a lead through a pipeline, and what questions they're asking and the reason why they're asking it, instead of just being like, you do it like this. We were learning and saying, this is why we do it. So I'm being very vulnerable, trying to help. Yeah. And then this girl, she's like, well, no. At my last team, mind you, she did nothing in the last team. She got kind of kicked out. She's like, my last team, we used to do the LP Mama, and it was really, really fun. And I looked at her, I'm like, well, this is not your last team. And I call him right away, I'm like, fire her right now. Never saw her again. But it was frustrating, because during that meeting, we had such high hopes, because she was just like, I'm a people person. Like, I really want to help people, and I also want to make some money, but I really want to help. After that, we were like, no more, I want to help people. It's like, you have to have a reason to work hard, and that's the only reason we're going to be hired for it. Any similar experiences like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely had to let people go. Tom Ferry talks about the 3 toxic traits and cancers to an environment, and those are complaining, comparing, and those things are, like if they have those 3 traits, those are big red flags for me. So just, I've had agents that just complain every time we're in a meeting. It's just constant complaining. And it can be even about, it's just the level of intensity that they bring just makes everybody on edge. And I don't do well with that. It's so important to have a positive and fun environment. We start every meeting off with a game and get people just in the right mindset and having fun. Also with agents, we've started to just have a 90-day probation period, and they know, like, you've got to make it through this 90-day probation period. You are not on the team until you do. And so
hazing. Yeah, they're pledging.
Yeah. So I'm an amiable personality trait, which means that I don't do well with confrontation. And I was speaking to a mentor of mine, and he was giving me questions to ask. He was just like, whenever you're going through an issue with, an agent or someone that you're bringing on that's not being coachable or not absorbing the information you want, the best question I love to ask is, did you change your goal without letting me know? And I was like, I like that one a lot. And it's interesting because as you're trying to, grow your team, you're thinking about what you need to accomplish your goal for that given year. And you're thinking about the players, the people you need in those seats. You need your bench to be ready to rock and loaded. But when that person's not producing, the commitment that they made to accomplishing that standard or that goal, it might not be their first priority at that moment unless you ask those questions in that certain way. But as sometimes when you're thinking about the team, you're always just like, well, you're not producing your standard. And it comes off completely different and they go defensive. And he was just like, just approach it like this. Be like, did you change your goal and not let me know? And if they say, oh, no, well, tell me what's going on. Is this not a priority? Is something else taking like more of a priority than this? And it was helping me walk through that weakness. Being a driver, empathy is a big issue for drivers. She's like, I'm not going to talk about it.
She's like, let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
How do you combat that when you're leading the 14 agents and the staff?
I usually will need to take a breather. When somebody brings me something, I ask if I can, just thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. And I hear you. I'm going to take some time to think on it and then get back to you. Because sometimes I do just, I can get very like, well, just do it. I mean, just do it this way. And this is how, and so I really have learned that I need to take some time and work on my delivery. And it's definitely something I've had to work on a lot because it's hard. And I work on the same thing with my husband, I got to work on my delivery. He's always like, your delivery could have been better.
I love it.
I've been told the same.
Yeah.
Not by my husband, but.
So Jen, with 133% growth from, 170, 70, or you did 80, and then you're breaking 100 for this year.
He says he's amiable, but he's analytical.
I'm an insane freak. I'm all for.
He's the hardest person to read as when it comes to the disc.
My coach got
He's
so fed up
definitely
with
not
me.
a driver, but this little handkerchief and usually how he dresses makes me think he's expressive. He's writing down a million numbers and figuring out your stats for last year, but then he'll ask you about your family. So you really, you think he's amiable, analytical. He's a tough one.
It's a psychopath. No, but with that kind of growth that you have, what's your long-term vision for the team? Do you eventually want to be out of production, or do you see yourself in that role for an extended period of time?
I would say I would like to be out of production with I would say in 10 years. I really think I see myself continuing production, not because I have to, but because I love it so much. And I don't, I'm only 38. I've got plenty of years left. So I would love to continue in production for another 10 years.
Yeah. There's only so much market share you could take in your kind of area. So would expansion be a next step that you would need to take?
It's definitely something that I've thought about. So yes, I think that if we were to expand, there's 2 markets I have in mind and I've been doing market research on, and I could see that happening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was leading into this one with this. How are you going to put the culture into another room, into another area when you expand?
That's the biggest concern with expansion, is just how am I going to continue the culture? And I think that that Zoom is fantastic. I love that we can have, have these conversations anywhere in the world, and that's great, but there's something to be said about having in-person, communication. So any market that we expand to would have to be a market where I can have face-to-face time with the agents and make sure that they're getting the love and attention that they need and deserve. So they would have to be somewhat close by. I also have really thought about having, I would hire a pod leader or a team leader that's in those markets that I feel like emulates what I'm doing and I can coach, so that then they can bring that same culture there as well. Mm-hmm. But I still myself would want to be involved and be able to spend time with them. So
yeah. If you had to walk us through your org chart, so you said you had 3 staff and 14 agents, right? Mm-hmm. So the 3 staff that you have, is any of them like in leadership positions, like operations manager or whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have an operations manager, I have a listing coordinator / transaction coordinator, and I have a marketing coordinator.
Okay, got it. So to replace yourself, you would need a sales manager, or you would need to, got it, okay. Mm-hmm. And the recruiting, all those agents came in from they were attracted to you from, what you were doing, from the team that you had built from there.
Yes, mostly social media. I think just showing the team culture on social media has brought a lot of interest, and also just the fact that we're doing things differently. When I moved here, it was like the wild, wild west. There was nobody was using, they were sticking metal signs in the yard. Nobody had the nice white, beautiful signposts. There still very few agents stage because there are no staging companies. So I started my own, had to pivot there and figure out how to get that done. So we stage, we have very high-end listing videos, and, all of those things are something that is unique to the team. So that's attractive to agents as well.
Talk to us a little bit more about that. That's actually where I wanted to segue. So I'm glad you brought it up. I understand you did start.
I was just taking your cue.
Yeah, I read you. So in-house staging company, and I know obviously you're getting a lot more active on social as a lot of the real broker agents are. Talk to us about how you're growing your social media presence, what you're doing to build that up, and let's dive into that first.
Sure. Social media, I've really been focusing on, I want to be known as the knowledge broker. I want to be, I've done really fun videos, and I enjoy those as well, but I really want to be known to my clients as a knowledge broker. So I've been focusing on educational reels. And so I do batch shooting and record 12 at a time and push those out, and have, a whole stock file of backlog of them. And so that's been something that I've been very consistent on, and I think has made a big difference in my social media. Just making sure to share the journey and journal the journey and share it, and make sure that my not just other agents, but also my clients and everybody that I want to work with, that they see that I'm active, and that I'm active with the team. I'm active with my family. I'm active with my clients, just a well-rounded person. I think it's important to show all of it so that you're real. I also have been very focused. So I am primarily a listing agent. So I've been very focused on making sure that my content is directed towards the people that I want to work with. So I've really made an effort to get very clear on who my ideal client is, and really make sure that my marketing is targeted towards them.
Okay. So is it fair to say that you're trying to direct your social media content towards sellers in your marketplace?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I can see that, of course, from looking at your videos. Talk to us about how you're coming up with some of your ideas. Is it just, if you have a conversation with a client and it sort of comes to mind, you just jot it down into your notes? Are you working off of a social media coach? Is it, seeing other realtors put out videos and you sort of make your own twist on it? Talk to us about how you're coming up with some of your content.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of all of that. So I have a note in my phone that I constantly add ideas that I come up with. So usually if a client asks me a question more than twice, then I add it to the list. I have, of course, if there's an agent that produces a video that I like the message, then I will then turn it into my own. And then I also have Google Alerts set up on my phone. So I get get information there. I love Twitter. There's certain people that I follow for certain, types of headlines, and then add those to the note. And so when I go to write scripts for those 12 at a time, I just go back to that note, and sometimes it helps me to think, oh my gosh, I thought there's this one too, or I could do this one off of that. And it turns into multiple from just the one thing that I wrote down. So just continuing to add to that file.
The one thing that's interesting is when it comes to social media content, one thing we're learning right now is that YouTube is a big platform that we completely did not utilize because it's the only search engine, right? Are you incorporating any of that in what you're doing right now as well, or is that on the horizon?
Absolutely. So I'm not really using TikTok as much because I'm not sure how long TikTok's going to be around. So I post to it, but it's never really been my main platform. So Instagram and Facebook for sure. And then also YouTube, and we're growing the YouTube channel. So I'm focusing this year on more local content and being more known as the local expert. And so you'll see that that's definitely something I'm shifting into more of. Yeah. And so, yes, definitely growing the YouTube channel, and that in more of a local way. So why would you want to move to Hood River and all of the things about it and all the surrounding areas, and interviewing different businesses and local businesses and things like that.
Yeah. If you haven't checked out Tom's story, the story team in Toronto, Canada. We just did a webinar with him. He does a really great job on YouTube. He's grown a big following over just the last 2 or 3 years.
2 years being intentional.
Young guy too. I think he's 20, not even 30.
He's 31.
31?
Yep.
I mean, he's taught us a lot just from sitting down with him on 2 different occasions. We did a podcast with him in this setting, and then we also had him come back and teach a webinar last Wednesday. If you haven't checked it out, check it out on our YouTube channel.
I definitely will. I think as for agents, it's so important for us to make sure that we are focusing on our local area and really educating people on that, because that, especially with YouTube, that's how you're going to get the most traction and get people to reach out to you and want to work with you, as if you really are the local expert.
Yeah. He gave us some insight. He's like, listen, just search. Now, I don't know if this is going to work in Hood River, because I was sort of thinking about this even in our market, because
we're so big.
Hoboken, we're in Hoboken, New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan, and it's 1 square mile. So, but anyway, he was like, listen, his market's Toronto. He's like, I go into Google, type Toronto real estate news, and whatever the top few headlines are, he's like, I'll steal that exact headline, and that's the headline of my video, because I already know it gets a lot of hits, and I'll just do a video with that as the topic. Now, I don't know if there's crazy Hood River.
No, but you just put in and have a Google alert set up for Toronto, for Hoboken, New Jersey, or New Jersey. And so it'll automatically send. You don't even have to go in and look for it. It's automatically sending you alerts on what's happening. And Hood River does not have much big news, but I do.
But you can create it though, right? Maybe it's not all real estate news.
Cause a ruckus. I'm gonna make some headlines. No.
But I didn't mean create it in that way. I meant I'm sure in a small area like that, if a new restaurant opens up.
McDonald's just came to town.
I was thinking a nicer restaurant, but
yeah. Thanks. We've got nicer restaurants than McDonald's here in this small.
It's a resort town, KIRO,
which is hard to think about. Because you guys have 7,000 people, resort town. When it's high season, that's when you actually don't want to work the most. And then on top of that, when it's a small niche, people want face-to-face interactions more than anything else. So the invisible thing makes so much more sense. But essentially, if you were to go see 33 people every single day, you'd hit 7,000 in a whole year if you did it just consistently, which is that's labor intensive.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And, for Hood River, what I do is I follow things like, the local news, like the Planning Commission and different things that are happening locally. And then I love the green screen on Instagram and showing those stories and things that are happening locally. And I think that that's kind of how I handle that part of it, because we don't have big headlines happening here.
Yeah. What John was asking is the stats that Tom had. He had, I think it was 120 appointments that were scheduled, both buyer and seller.
His big thing is that in his call to action, I guess, is
a Calendly
to book through a Calendly link below his YouTube video. if you want to schedule a one-on-one with him. And, it says, do you want to schedule a buyer consultation, a seller consultation, or to learn, discovery call?
There you go.
And he's like, everybody clicks discovery call because seller consultation sounds too permanent or too much commitment. So he's like, it's a trick. It's right. It's like
to give them 3
in the
they'll always
coffee
pick
shop
discovery.
when the medium is just 5 cents more than the small. He's like, it's a trick, right? So
I love that.
Strategic marketing. So everybody picks the discovery call. He's like, and if they pick the seller consultation, he's like, I know it's going to be, a home run. But his whole thing was, what were the numbers he had last year?
It was like 100 and something appointments, both buyer and seller and discovery.
All through YouTube.
And it was very hyper local. So people are looking, like he would do market updates in Toronto, and that's how people would find it. And then
so smart.
Yeah, and there was 25 transactions that came out of it for last year, for 2022.
Yeah, so 100 something appointments, 25 transactions. And what I give him credit for is everybody does the market updates, right? And we've seen some really, really horrible ones, and some that make you just want to smash your computer. It's just dreadfully boring. Yeah. But he makes them interesting, or he'll just, put his own little twist on it. And they're short. I think he said like 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But the beautiful part about it, and some of this probably sounds overly obvious, is he's like, John, it flips the whole switch. He's like, when people are coming to you, it's almost like a come list me or somebody that's coming out of your sphere. He's like, I have so much leverage. If they're coming to my office and seeking me out, he's like, I'm almost like a little bit of like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh my God, like you look so different, or you look the same as you do on YouTube, and I watch all your videos, and you said this and that. And he's like, when someone starts speaking like that, he's like, I know I got that listing, right?
For sure.
We learned a lot from him, and again, the biggest thing like KIRO started when we went into this topic was YouTube is searchable, right? Like I think of how many times you've been. This happens to me all the time where I'm trying to show him a funny reel. I'm like, oh, wait, I got to find it. Can't remember where it was. I can't remember who posted it.
No.
And you can't go back and search certain material on Instagram. But YouTube, and again, for people who, study YouTube every single day, they're like, of course. But, for us, it's you go there to search, right?
Yes.
So it's, that's why, of course, we're making all of our videos titled how to this, how to that on YouTube, right? So yeah, it was just very eye-opening for us as,
Yeah. And the call to actions too. What are your call to actions for the buyers and sellers that you're trying to attract?
Like on YouTube and things like that?
Just in general, through everything you post. Is it just value, or is there calls?
I honestly could be better about doing call to actions. I do. If you want to know more, send me a DM, things like that. And it works. I mean, it's not like subscribe here, follow me there, like any of that right now. But I just ask them to send me a DM, or I do a lot of those the chat boxes and the question boxes and get responses, and then start the conversation offline. And we have a huge amount of, I have a lot of clients that I've gotten from Instagram, especially a lot.
I think a lot of your material is similar to like a Katie Day type setup, right? Hey, let's talk and some of it's, the not so sexy stuff, right? Like, let's talk about deposits, or let's talk about what you're looking for in a home inspection, or the different steps. But I think, sometimes it's hard to track that, right? It's not necessarily someone's going to be like, oh my God, I saw your home inspection video. Like, I need you to be my agent. But it's over time. It's like, you're building credibility with this database and these followers, where they're like, hey, I don't need Jen today because we're happy in our house, but we're thinking about doing something in 6 months, and when I'm ready, I'm going to call her because she knows what she's talking about.
It's so true. And I think that that's part of staying top of mind. And one thing that a couple of years ago, we did a campaign called the I See You Everywhere campaign. And it was I did it with my coach. And we said, like, once we start hearing I see you everywhere, we'll know that it worked. And it definitely happened, and it continues to happen. And it's because if you do one thing and you're just on social media and that's all you do, you may not get the best results. But if you're doing social media, you're doing a geographic farm, you're having community events, you're doing all of these different things, an email newsletter, email campaign, all of it. If you're doing something in all these different areas, you're top of mind. They're not going to forget about you. they're constantly thinking of you. And when they think real estate, they think your name. And you've got to do a little bit of all of these things in order for that to really take off.
That's so true. We were never into social media up until maybe a year ago. And it hit like a ton of bricks because we've had friends and family. We were always just head down, dial the phones. You know, we were Mike Ferry trained agents, so we were just nonstop following a script, going over and over again. And then friends would hit us up, be like, "Yeah, how's everything going?" One of his buddies called him. He was like, "Hey man, I see your buddies, doing really good in real estate, and like I haven't seen anything from you. Like, are you okay? What's going on?" And mind you, the numbers were probably like 3 times more than the person that was on social.
Yes.
And it was like, that was a hit to the gut. It was like, really,
Yeah, I wasn't posting anything. I was doing a lot of transactions, just not telling anybody about it. And another friend of mine was doing no transactions or lesser transactions.
And giving market updates.
He was one of those guys that would go into other people's listings with his phone and be like, "Here I am at whatever listing and blah, blah, blah." And it wasn't even his. He was just showing it.
It doesn't matter. I tell my agents that. It doesn't matter. Fake it till you make it. Just show that you're doing something.
Show that you're active. Yeah.
Yes. So I was having kind of a little slump, and because I was out of production, and I was like, you know what? I need to get back out there. Like, how am I going to get people to see that I'm selling? I'm back into the production. So I set several appointments, and then I got on social media and was talking about the appointments, talking about how busy things were. My phone started ringing like crazy. And I'm like, that's it. People just, as soon as you're top of mind and they remember that you are an agent and that you're active and you're actually out selling, it's amazing how fast it works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Jen. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
I learned a lot. I was excited to meet you in person, or at least, via video.
My bad. All right.
What's that?
No. I was like, you're like, at least I was excited to meet you.
No, I mean, we were both excited.
I was equally as excited to meet you both. It was very fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jen. If someone wants to reach out, connect, collaborate, what's the best way to do so?
At Jen Dillard.
Easy.
On Instagram. It's the best way.
Awesome.
Sweet, Jen.
Thank you again, Jen.